Opinion's been really divided on N'Golo Kante. Obviously, quite clearly, you got people that want him, you got people that think it'd be a waste of money, and you can understand both arguments. I do believe that there's arguments for both, but I do think it's less binary than that. I do think there's sort of down the middle, and I think for me, I was a little bit down the middle, but I've now gone to not wanting him because I just think he's got too rich. And if you don't know, the most recent stories are Barcelona are interested, but West Ham might be going in with a second bid, and Al-Ittihad, who is his club in the Saudi Pro League, are looking for 33 million. At that point, it's got too rich for my taste. But as I say, I think that sails a little bit down the line. One thing I noticed, particularly on social media over the last few days, was you'd get some posts that were put out there basically saying anybody who doesn't want N'Golo Kante is mad. That's what basically some of the posts would say. It's very modern. It's a very modern thing. It's basically anybody who doesn't think as I do is therefore mad. It's which is a crazy position to take anyway, because I think people have made really good arguments to why we should have him, and there's some really good arguments as to why we shouldn't. For me, I sort of changed my tune on it a little bit. I was sat on the fence, truth be known, and I thought, do you know what? If you believe all the stories that you hear and read about N'Golo Kante, that he's not particularly money driven, that actually he's really boosted his bank account by going to Saudi, depending on which newspaper you read, he's anywhere between £500,000 and £1 million a week over there. And actually, he would come back and play in the Premier League for 10% of that. So I'm looking at it and thinking, okay, well, if he's going to come here and play for 80 grand a week or whatever, if he's going to come in and it's going to be 15 million, actually, really, the liability is not too great, really. You know, if you go and sign him on a 2-3 year contract, it's not massive, it's not great. But I think the moment you start looking at it, it becomes 33 million, which was the price that I read late last night and again this morning. You just think, forget it. It's too much of a chunk. And I find it hard, and here would be my argue against it. So, you know, here's the thing when people say anyone that doesn't want N'Golo Kante is mad. Well, I don't think this is mad, but here's what I would argue against that. We were now in the realms of financial fair play, the era of profit sustainability regulations. It's not mad to not want him. It's entirely possible to think that N'Golo Kante is a good player, appreciate what he's done at the Euros, but then look at the amount of money it would take from the rest of our spending power and think, well, that's too much. That's just too much. It's not financially feasible. I think in many respects, a similar argument could possibly be made for Ivan Toney. Maybe we'll discuss him a little bit more tomorrow. There does seem to be a little bit of movement on that. £50 million. I think just after Christmas, I might have this wrong, just after Christmas he's 29. So, yeah, okay, he's on the wrong side, really, isn't he? He's on the wrong side of the age parameters, if that's what you were looking to spend £50 million on a player. If his wages were low enough, though, and he sort of probably does guarantee your Premier League goals, you could probably make that case. But I would suggest if there's something else that we can do, then I possibly wouldn't be going for Ivan Toney, not at £50 million, that's for sure. But in order for us to spend £50 million on Ivan Toney, in order for us to spend £20 million on a fullback, to buy another, to be able to bid £27 million for Jean-Claire Todibo, then we're not going to be able to go and spend £33 million on N'Golo Kante. So it's not actually about your observation of him as a player. The decision can be made purely on West Ham finances. Which sort of leads me to yesterday's friendly against Dagenham and Redbridge. And I've been schmoozed. I've been swooned. There's no doubt about it. People accuse me. I've been completely bowled over by Julian Lopetegui. Absolutely. I admit it, absolutely. Bang to rights. Accuse me of that. I really like what I see from him. The one thing that I really liked immediately was his communication. That's before I'd even seen us play football. We are going to continue. We're going to definitely have a different style of football next season. Anybody can see that. I'm interested, intrigued and motivated to see what the next instalment holds, what happens when we go to America, particularly the start of the season. I've got to be honest, I probably wouldn't have been overly looking forward to the start of the season had we carried on David Moyes. This is giving the lounge a lick of fresh paint, isn't it, really? I'm sort of looking forward to this now, it has to be said. But before I even saw anything sort of tactically, shape, how we might be playing, it was the way he was communicating. And I said as much on this channel. And that's just continued. And I really, really like that. And I'm not the only person that likes it. It's clear that Lewis Orford appreciates that. And this is what might factor in really to hopefully, possibly the club's thinking that if West Ham have a certain amount of money left, we might look at the players we've got coming through and think, actually, do we really need to allocate that much to a defensive midfielder, as good as he might be, and whilst he may well be looking possibly to sign for Barcelona. But I would understand it. Orford's interview, I thought, with the official club, I thought was absolutely excellent. It was brilliant. And it's, again, you can pick apart what he said, but I found it really, really interesting. Let me just read a couple of bits. But basically, Orford talks about the communication of Lopetegui. Lopetegui's been speaking to him. You hear this from everybody. This was not always the case. It really, really, really wasn't. And it's very hard to have these conversations without sort of going back and digging David Moyes out, which is not really what I want to do. But that was not the case. David Moyes had his favourites, and I know this for a fact. There were certainly times when maybe the under 21 players would come over and maybe do a bit of training, and they just weren't. It's not that they weren't involved. They no conversations were had, and there was times when possibly David Moyes was just guilty of looking after his favourite players. This is not the case with Lopetegui. Lopetegui's keeping everyone involved, from Betty the tea lady. There is probably no Betty the tea lady. They might even just have a machine. Maybe there's no tea lady, but you get what I mean. Betty the cleaner. She's got a new job. Whoever, right? From the basically what would appear to be the most menial job at the club, Lopetegui is a good communicator with everybody. This much is clear. And it's really nice what he said to Orford. Orford knows he's going to America. This is really important for them to be involved in pre-season. These guys are getting a chance to impress. And I thought Freddie Potts, I was impressed with Freddie Potts as well. I'm talking about Orford because he's the one that's been put forward by the media team. Let me just tell you some of the things he said, and hopefully I think you'll probably agree with what I said here. He said, I think summer's gone really well. We've been back for 3 weeks. I was pleased with how it went in Austria. Was pleased to get 60 minutes against Dagenham. Was really positive. It was good to get another run out. I feel like I've played well, particularly at the start of the second half. I think I'm in a good place at the moment. I've grown a lot physically over recent months and years. I'm at a stage now where I think I'm ready for the first team. I just want to sort of highlight that, if I may. If you go back to when I did my video with Andy Walsh, with the video after the Wickham game, the EFL Trophy, and I highlighted a few players because we went over to a cold night. That was cold. I don't know why Wickham is colder than anywhere else, but it was bloody cold. Well, maybe it's because I'm up on a bloody hill, right? But anyway, bloody cold night. The under 21s there. The thing is, it wasn't under 21s against the Wickham men's team. It was basically a bunch of 17, 18-year-olds up against the Wickham men's team. And I mentioned Lewis Orford's size. I said you can see he's going to be big enough. He was tall enough. He was a little bit skinny. But even now, you can see he's filled out a bit. You're not looking at him and seeing a tiny player. I don't give him another year as well. I don't think this is someone that's going to get bullied in the first team, in first team football. And I think you could probably make a case he's not going to get bullied now. He was 18 now. He was 17 then. He's only going to get better, and he's only going to fill out more. So I agree what he says about him improving physically. He said, I loved seeing George and Caelan get their debuts in the Premier League last year. I thought I was a bit unlucky not to get mine. I would agree. I would absolutely agree. He said, but I think I'm in a good position now to get those opportunities going forward, especially with the new head coach having come in. I mean, it says so. This is now. There's a whole load of players, and it's not just about academy players. Mohamed Kudus was saying as much yesterday about the new head coach coming in, and I think you can read quite a lot into this stuff, and I like the fact that the media club are putting this stuff out. This is the stuff I'm really interested in. I'll be honest with you, I couldn't care less where you got two of the players playing FIFA with each other or doing a quiz or anything like that. It's nice. They're nice, fun pieces that the club put out. It's the stuff on the training ground. It's the interviews with the managers. It's what the players are saying. This stuff I find absolutely intriguing. Those things you can pick up. He basically saying that. Look, I'll read it again. I was unlucky. I thought I was unlucky not to be involved with George and Caelan last season. But I'm in a good position now because the new head coach is coming. This is absolutely in line with what we were discussing last season. Absolutely. He said, Orford said, I consider myself to be the sort of midfielder who likes to play around the back and play forward. The manager, the new manager, means Lopetegui, likes to keep the ball a lot and switch from one side to the other, which is a big part of my game. He really does. You can notice this in the pattern of plays. He's enjoying switching play. Again, there'll always be somebody when I'm doing this say, "Oh, you're reading too much into it." Yeah, absolutely, 100%. That's absolutely what I'm doing. I'm trying to look at little things that we've noticed in the pre-season, little things that what the players are saying, just to try and get a little insight. Because at the end of the day, we don't know yet. We just don't know what it's going to be like next season, but we're learning a little bit more with every game. Orford said, "I've got a good range of passing and out of possession." Lopetegui wants us to be aggressive. He thinks that suits him. He said, "Off the pitch, I've enjoyed having chats with Lopetegui and getting to know him. I'm thankful for the chances he's given me. It's just about taking them now." It goes on. You don't need to read all of it. He's basically been told, he's already been told, I'm going to America. Again, this is in stark contrast to what we used to hear. You know, players, even if they were being taken over to an away game in Europe, players would, even the young players, would learn really late that was happening. And irrespective of whether you're a footballer or you're not, I think you probably do want to be giving a 17-year-old and their parents as much notice as you possibly can before you're going to hoik them over to the other side of Europe, basically. So I think this is really, you keep hearing the same thing over and over and over again. Communication. And I don't believe that this is just something that, I don't think this is PR. I don't think it's the club are peddling this. I don't think they're saying, to all the players, make sure you say about the communication in the interviews. It's just, I don't think that's happening. In fact, I think probably the club media team are possibly having to work. They don't have to work as hard at the moment because they're being given so much material to work with. They really are. The access that they're clearly afforded now is a lot greater. You get the impression that Lopetegui, I felt this at Wolves as well, you get the impression that Lopetegui understands maybe the modern way, that understands about digital media and the way it is now, as opposed to, you know, you sort of always got the impression that maybe Moyes, you just wished it was sort of the old written press again, and even that was a bit of an inconvenience. So because of that, I think they're putting out so much stuff. The official club website and the official club YouTube channel and all that stuff, they really probably don't have to force the issue. They're just getting so much printable and recordable stuff that is, I'm really impressed, really pleased to hear it. But I just thought it was really interesting, the Lewis Orford interview coinciding with the fact that we hear that Kante may cost 33 million. It is too much. It's too much, and I'm sure the majority of you will agree. Even Kante's biggest fans will probably say, you know, that's it, because it does come down to that. If buying Kante would stop us getting another centre back or another right winger or a striker, would you do it? I can't answer for you. I mean, the answer for me is no. We look well stocked in midfield, and we still haven't seen the team play with Edson Alvarez, and Edson Alvarez is going to purr in this team. Now, he's obviously injured for the start of next season. But again, is that a reason to bring in Kante to play for 4 games at the start of the season? I think not. I'd be disappointed if any part of Lopetegui's system succeeded or failed on the inclusion or exclusion of one player. You shouldn't think that one position is absolutely fundamental, otherwise the system falls down and doesn't work and we lose all the games. No, you'd hope that somebody else can play in that position, and maybe, just maybe, that's what he's doing, and would be really interesting to see that. I still believe that James Ward-Prowse, who I thought played really well, let me just say that, I thought he played really, really well against Dagenham, as I said in yesterday's video. I still think he will probably play not in the number 10 role, or there'll be a place for him in the midfield. And I think Alvarez will play, but if it's the start of the season, then you still got to find a partner for James Ward-Prowse. If you assume that Lucas Paquetá will be the number 10, you still got to find a place for James Ward-Prowse. You just still got to find a partner for James Ward-Prowse. And I'm not convinced it's Thomas Souček, as you know. Anyway, listen, enjoy what's left of your Sunday. Quite a lot left of the Sunday. Well, I've been a bit pessimistic there. Plenty left of the Sunday. Enjoy your Sunday. I'll be back tomorrow morning.